The dark side of social media groups, how they breed toxicity, jealousy, and control. After 3 years of research, one truth stands out above all else. Social media groups are not the harmonious communities they claim to be. Instead of fostering genuine connection, many of these groups operate as digital traps, breeding grounds for jealousy, hidden malice, and silent control. What we discovered is that these groups often formed around shared backgrounds, childhood friends, former classmates, or people from the same town do not exist to support progress. Instead, they function like invisible chains designed to keep members in check, enforcing old hierarchies and discouraging personal evolution. Here's what makes them dangerous. The gravitational pull downward. The biggest flaw of these groups is that they are built on the past, not the present. Many members do not see you as who you are today, but as who you were years ago. If you have grown financially, intellectually, or socially, there is an unspoken expectation that you should not rise too far above the group. Those who try to evolve often face subtle undermining. Come on, we know the real you. Mockery disguised as jokes. Oh, now you think you're some kind of expert. Silent resentment. They see your success but never acknowledge it. This is not support, it is containment. Malice and jealousy are inevitable. Jealousy in these groups is not just common, it is inevitable. Unlike admiration for a distant celebrity, jealousy is most intense when directed at someone you know, especially someone you once saw as beneath you. The hidden resentment surfaces in many ways. Fake encouragement, they say congrats, but deep down, they are bitter. Passive-aggressive silence. Your achievements are ignored while trivial updates from others get attention. Backhanded compliments. Wow, you're doing well. Never thought you had it in you. Character assassination. Rumors spread when they can't handle your growth. This isn't just psychological discomfort, it's social sabotage. Many will actively root for your failure because your success forces them to confront their own stagnation. Control disguised as community. At first glance, these groups seem like safe spaces, but in reality, they demand conformity. There are unspoken rules. Do not question the group's values. Do not outgrow the group's expectations. Do not act too ambitious. The moment you challenge these rules, the group turns against you. You are accused of being arrogant, disloyal, or thinking you're better than everyone else. This is not community, it's social control. Time drains and mental clutter beyond the psychological damage. These groups are massive time wasters. Endless debates, gossip, recycled opinions. These spaces consume hours but offer nothing in return. Instead of using time productively, members get caught in a cycle of pointless arguments over trivial topics, repetitive discussions that never lead to action. Negativity loops where members reinforce each other's misery. The more time you spend in these spaces, the more they cloud your thinking, drain your energy, and distract you from real growth. The illusion of friendship. Perhaps the biggest lie of social media groups is the illusion that just because you share a history with people, they are your friends. True friendship is about mutual growth, respect, and encouragement. Many of these groups offer the opposite. They remind you of your past mistakes instead of celebrating your progress. They guilt-trip you for distancing yourself instead of supporting your evolution. They expect your loyalty but do not reciprocate it. The harsh truth? Many of the people you grew up with do not want you to succeed, not because they are inherently evil, but because your success highlights their own lack of progress. Breaking free. The only solution. If these groups are pulling you down, there is only one way out. Leave. Limit your engagement. The less energy you invest, the less control they have. Build new connections. Your real community is made up of those who match your current mindset, not those who only understand your past. Stop seeking validation. You do not need their approval to move forward. Loyalty to the past should never come at the expense of your future. Every second spent in a toxic social media group is a second stolen from your growth, creativity, and happiness. These groups do not serve you, they consume you. Real friendships push you higher. Fake friendships pull you down. Choose wisely. Social media has become the very heart of modern living. It is where young and adults converge. Just like anything in life, social media can destroy. We are here to give you tools on how to navigate this jungle forest full of poisonous snakes. Many people are already limping. WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, these digital enclaves, often formed by childhood friends, ex-classmates, old neighbors, can be some of the most toxic spaces in modern life. They masquerade as bonds of nostalgia, but in reality, they often become cages that trap people in outdated versions of themselves. You were a child with them, yes. You played, you laughed, you went through the same struggles, but now you have evolved. Life has shaped you, torn you down, built you up again. You are no longer that kid they once knew. You are a dynamic being in motion, but these groups, they want to keep you static, trapped in a time capsule where their comfort zone remains undisturbed. There's a strange force in these spaces, a gravitational pull downward. Those who haven't grown, who are stuck in the same small-town mindset, will work, consciously or subconsciously, to keep everyone at their level. If you have risen, if you have gained wisdom, success, a new perspective, they will remind you, "We know you, Mike. You're just one of us." But are you? The worst thing about these groups is the false sense of loyalty they demand. Because you grew up together, you owe them your presence, your attention, your agreement. But loyalty to the past should never be at the expense of your growth. Staying connected to people out of sheer history when they no longer reflect your values or aspirations is like drinking from a poisoned well because you used to fetch water there as a child. This is where the unexpected paradox of social media comes in. Real, helpful relationships often emerge from people you've never met physically, those who reflect your current level of consciousness, not your past circumstances. A Malaysian entrepreneur, a British strategist, an American philosopher, a Chinese artist, you might find deeper kinship in their words than in the voices of those who lived on your childhood street. The truth is, your real community is not always where you were born. It is where you are going. There's an invisible force at play in many WhatsApp and Facebook groups, particularly those formed around childhood friends, old classmates, and former communities. It's a psychological gravity, a gravitational pull downward that drags people back into versions of themselves they've outgrown. It's not always intentional, but it's there, working subtly, shaping interactions, keeping people in place. The comfort of familiarity becomes a trap. These groups operate on an unspoken rule: we are all the same as we once were. The past binds everyone together, and this familiarity gives a sense of belonging. But belonging based on the past can be a dangerous thing. It assumes that who you were is who you should always be. The moment you begin to rise, financially, intellectually, spiritually, you threaten the balance. The gravitational force begins to act. People who have remained the same, who are still circling in the same struggles and mindsets they had years. Ego become uncomfortable when they see you stepping outside that orbit. The group does not celebrate evolution, it resists it. The anchors, how the group keeps you down. The gravitational pull downward manifests in different ways. Reminders of who you were. Remember when you used to struggle in school? You were always the funny one, not the serious one. Come on, don't act like you're better than us. These statements aren't innocent. They are deliberate efforts to drag you back into a familiar, lower version of yourself, one that the group is comfortable with. Casual disrespect. Masked as banter humor is one of the most effective tools for keeping people in place. The moment you express a new idea, a deeper thought, or a serious ambition, someone cracks a joke at your expense. Laughter is the chain that pulls you back. Now you think you're some kind of big shot? You read too many books now, man. The group mocks what it does not understand. Doubt injection, psychological undermining. If humor fails, they use doubt. They question your success, your new interests, your ambitions. You really think you can make it in that business? Why are you always posting about deep stuff now? You changed, man, and not in a good way. The gravitational pull is in full effect. Its mission is to make you question yourself. The weight of unspoken expectation. There's an expectation in these groups. Do not rise too high. The moment you step too far from the collective, you disrupt their sense of balance. It forces them to reflect on themselves, and reflection is uncomfortable. If you came from the same place, had the same childhood, and yet you are succeeding in ways they are not, it threatens the narrative they have built about life. They don't want to climb. They want you to descend. The psychological toll of staying in orbit. The longer you remain in these groups, the more you absorb their gravity. The energy, the discussions, the mentality, it slowly seeps into you. Your ambition weakens, your ideas feel excessive, your confidence erodes, you start feeling guilty for your progress. This is why people who have broken free from these gravitational fields describe it as a mental and emotional detox. They no longer have to explain themselves, they no longer have to fight to justify their evolution. The moment they leave, they realize how heavy the weight had been. Escape velocity, how to break, breaking free from a downward gravitational pull requires an intentional strategy. Limit exposure. Reduce participation in these groups. The less you engage, the less influence they have. Find new orbits. Seek out people who reflect your current growth. Engage with minds who uplift, not those who restrain. Stop explaining yourself. Your evolution needs no justification. You are not obligated to convince those who refuse to grow. Cut emotional ties to nostalgia. The past is the past. Do not let nostalgia keep you chained to environments that no longer serve you. Conclusion. The high cost of staying stagnant. The most dangerous thing about these groups is that their gravitational pull is disguised as love, as friendship, as brotherhood. But real love supports growth. Real friendship celebrates evolution. Anything that resists your rise is not a connection, but a chain. Choose wisely. The difference between soaring and sinking often comes down to who is in your orbit. Malice and jealousy. The natural resentment of seeing. Mike Rise. Jealousy and malice, these are not foreign concepts. They are as natural as hunger, as primal, as fear. They arise from an ancient part of the human psyche, the part that measures status, power, and self-worth relative to others. And when someone you once looked down on, someone you dismissed, mocked, or simply assumed would never surpass you, suddenly rises above you, the instinctual reaction is resistance. It's not that the people in these WhatsApp and Facebook groups are necessarily evil. Their jealousy is not planned in a strategy meeting. It's reactive, subconscious, and automatic, but still potent enough to be destructive. The core of the resentment: Mike wasn't supposed to win. Imagine you were always the bright student. You were the one with potential, the one teachers praised, the one whose path seemed paved with certainty. And then there was Mike, a guy who barely got by, who wasn't particularly special, who never seemed like a contender. Mike was supposed to fail, or at least Mike was supposed to stay in his place. But now Mike is out there thriving, publishing books, traveling, making money, becoming influential. And here you are, with your degrees, your past achievements, still stuck, still struggling, still feeling unfulfilled. That's when jealousy turns into something darker. It's one thing to admire those who have always been ahead, those who were meant to succeed. There is no shame in seeing a born genius or a privileged rich kid rise. But Mike? No. Mike's success is a personal insult. It shatters the mental hierarchy that people have built over years. The psychology of malice. Why it's easier to undermine than to accept. When faced with someone they thought was beneath them but is now clearly superior in some way, people have two choices: use Mike's success as inspiration to push themselves forward. Find ways to pull Mike back down so that his success doesn't make them feel inadequate. Most people, without even realizing it, choose option 2, not because they are inherently bad, but because it's easier. Malice is a defense mechanism. It's not really about Mike, it's about their own self-perception. Instead of looking inward and asking, why haven't I progressed? What could I do differently? They take the simpler path, discredit Mike's success. He must have cheated, gotten lucky, or sold out. Downplay his achievements. Anyone can do that, it's not a big deal. Mock his transformation. Oh, so now Mike thinks he's a big shot. Gossip and find faults. Mike may be successful. But did you hear about his personal life? The gravitational. Pull downward now has a malicious edge. The goal is no longer just to keep Mike in place, it's to drag him back down by force. Social media groups, the perfect breeding ground for hidden jealousies. Social media groups amplify this problem because they force people to witness success in real time. Social media groups are not the safe havens they pretend to be. They are digital prisons designed to keep you tethered to the past. They do not celebrate your evolution, they resent it. They do not encourage your ambition, they sabotage it. Behind the facade of camaraderie lies a web of jealousy, control, and silent malice. These groups thrive on conformity, punishing those who dare to rise above the collective mediocrity. They remind you of who you were, not who you are becoming, and they will do everything in their power to keep you small, stagnant, and stuck. Every like, comment, or passive-aggressive jab is a subtle attempt to pull you back into the fold, to remind you that your place is among them, not ahead of them. They will mock your progress, dismiss your achievements, and weaponize your past against you. They will drain your time, your energy, and your spirit, leaving you with nothing but mental clutter and regret. These groups are not your friends. They are your anchors, dragging you down into a sea of wasted potential. But you have a choice. You can stay bound by the invisible chains of loyalty to people who no longer align with your vision, or you can break free. You can walk away from the toxicity, the jealousy, and the control. You can seek out communities that inspire you, challenge you, and celebrate your growth. You can surround yourself with people who see your potential and push you to reach it, not those who resent you for daring to dream bigger. The cost of staying is too high. Every second spent in these groups is a second stolen from your future, a future where you are unapologetically yourself, free from the weight of other people's insecurities and limitations. Loyalty to the past should never come at the expense of your progress. Your growth is not arrogance, it is your birthright. Your ambition is not a betrayal, it is your destiny. So leave. Leave the groups that drain you. Leave the people who doubt you. Leave the spaces that no longer serve you. Your future is not in the shadows of false community. It is in the light of your own potential. Break free, rise above, and never look back. Because real growth begins the moment you stop seeking validation from those who never wanted you to succeed in the first place.